Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be discussing everything that came out of the Square Enix Presents show in regards to Marvel's Avengers, and there's a lot to discuss, guys, to be honest with you. And so without further ado, let's get into it. So the Avengers segment of the presentation opened with a look at the Cosmic Cube villain sector, our fight with Scientist Supreme that's been on the roadmap for Avengers for some time now. And first of all, we do have a date for the Cosmic Cube now, that being June 22nd, so just over 2 weeks time from now. And this, of course, is, as I said, a villain sector, so it will be permanent content within the game as far as we're aware at this time. And what we saw throughout this trailer was a number of establishing shots trying to kind of set up the story going forward, showing Monica and her ability to manipulate clones, her ability to manipulate things spatially, and that seems not only to be the Cosmic Cube, obviously, but her own genetic mutations that she was inflicted with by MODOK in the base game. So it looks like this fight's going to be particularly complex. It's going to have a number of mechanics and a number of things going on. The arena is particularly unique too. It's very surreal in nature, looks kind of almost metallic, kind of segments of metal that are kind of fraying and coming apart, and it looks quite interesting. It almost looks like a singularity or something along those lines, and honestly it looks like a fight where you're going to have to be very much aware of what you're doing and very careful about what you're doing with certain sinkholes and such like to avoid. And that's something that the game very much needs. I think bosses up to now have very much been punch bags, so to speak. They're pretty much health bars that you get down and then that's it. So hopefully Monica does change that. But one thing that I am concerned about, whilst we did get gameplay, which was obviously brilliant to see, we didn't kind of get any indication as to how much gameplay this actually adds to the game. I'm concerned that even though this is a villain sector and obviously we'll add a map before fighting Monica herself, I'm worried that this is going to be relatively small story-wise and relatively small in terms of expanding the game. I feel like this is more kind of set up for War of Wakanda, which is fine, but I think we need kind of more permanent content in the meantime before War for Wakanda comes. Now, before we get on to War for Wakanda, there was a quick update about patrols. They are still very much on the way, and we got an idea of how they're going to work, that they're essentially kind of a continued effort to find out about the Kree invasion that's coming to Earth in the game, and kind of trying to find ways to stop that, but also by fighting through bosses like Taskmaster that can reappear, and that the map's kind of a little bit more dynamic than what we're used to as yet in Avengers. So that's great. As far as I'm aware right now, I don't think that has a definitive date, but likely that will come before War for Wakanda, which has been touted for August. Speaking more on War for Wakanda, the cinematic that was delivered for the expansion looked brilliant. Absolutely flawless. It really sold Wakanda and Black Panther in very much the same way that we're familiar with, very much a way that you can kind of recognize stuff and people and objects and such like very easily, very straight to the point. It felt very much a continuation of Avengers, but also kind of, again, hearkening to the comics and in parts to the MCU as well. Seeing Shuri was a very big boon as well. I feel like it's nice to see that we're getting supporting characters alongside Black Panther himself. The same can be said for our villain in Ulysses Claw. This is a more comic accurate Claw in terms of how you see him later in the trailer. I won't say any spoilers on that one, apart from he's pretty big by the end of the trailer. You guys can go and watch it yourself for that. But yes, it looks pretty good. It's very much in keeping with how we have viewed Wakanda in recent media. I do kind of feel that whilst the trailer for the Wakanda expansion looked great, we didn't get any gameplay, and that's kind of worrying to me. It feels as if perhaps we could be getting something that is somewhat lackluster, or perhaps not as grand as it's being made out to be in this this brilliant trailer. I am overall hyped about this. I think it could turn out to be a very well put together expansion. By the way, of course, this expansion is free. It is merely a term that they're using to call it an expansion, to kind of denote that it's a larger content drop than a usual patch, but it is all free. It is all available to anyone who has bought the game prior. But yeah, we do see a lot of interesting stuff in this. we seem to, in this, be taking the role of Black Panther for the most part, but we do see, for example, Cap and Iron Man show up, as well as these other supporting characters, of course. As well as this, we do see new types of enemies. It looks like we're getting a lot of robotic spiders. That was kind of the main one in the trailer, but I imagine we'll also be getting some of Claw's men equipped with this almost like photonic weaponry that he seems to be using. That'll be interesting to see. You know, we have had some bumpy times recently with Marvel's Avengers, but I feel like this could really get us back on track, really put us in a good place for moving forward. We're getting some fan favorite characters in Black Panther and Shuri, and I believe Okoye as well. And it will be interesting to see where we go from here. As always, guys, thank you for watching. If you did like this video, please share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.